Can everybody hear me on Zoom land? Perfect. Thank you, Carla. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm David Jones, Sergeant of Arms. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Tonight we have two speakers, so we're not going to be as rushed as I thought we were going to be. So we should be fine with time. We'll have plenty of time for some table topics. And before I get into my Toastmaster role, I'm going to turn it over to our president, Dr. Not Doctor, or you could be Doctor. Elvis. Dr. Elvis.
Oh, wow. I got a title today. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. Welcome to Queen City Toastmasters. Tonight, we have a wonderful meeting with two fabulous speakers. We have a very interesting program today that I'm sure that you all are going to enjoy. Before we get to the content of our program tonight, I would like to recognize our guests. So we have some guests on site and also online. I would like to start with the guests that are online. I see Priyanka Pandya. Did I say that correct?
Yes, it's Priyanka Pandya.
Can you please tell us your name, what inspired you to come to the meeting tonight, and how did you hear about our club?
So, hi, everyone. My name's Priyanka. One of my professors is basing one of our assignments on attending a Toastmasters meeting because it's a managerial communications class, and she made it sound interesting, and I feel like I'm going to learn a lot. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Thank you. And I would like to continue with another of our guests on Zoom, Brandon. Can you please unmute yourself and tell us your name? How did you hear about Queen City Toastmasters and what inspired you to come to our club tonight? Maybe not with us. We can come back to Brandon. Yes, I would like to continue then with the guests that are on site. So I will pass on the mic for the benefit of the ones that are online. We need to use our mic, and I will be passing it to our guests here. So I would like to start with Keisha.
Yes, I'm Keisha. Yes. Oh, okay. I'm Keisha. I found you guys online and I'm here. Been at time before. Just want to come back in because I've enjoyed these sessions and learn more.
Thank you, Kesha. And Garrett, returning guest, soon to be a member.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Garrett. I've been coming here now for about 4 straight weeks. I missed a week last week due to work, but I'm happy to be back. And I am also happy to announce that I will be joining shortly after this meeting. It's great to be here and it's great to be with you all again.
Thank you. Unless Ant wants to talk, Ann, you want to talk? Just want to introduce yourself, Sherry. This is Leon's aunt.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leon's aunt. My name is Karina. And well, I was surprised because it's not my first time coming to a meeting from Toastmaster. I'm from Panama. I work from Caterpillar, and we have one of our Toastmaster back at home. So thank you so much.
Thank you much.
Thank you, David. And thank you all of our guests. We are honored to have you here today. I hope you enjoy our meeting. And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the person that is going to lead our meeting. Is going to be our Toastmaster of the day. He is the district director he was area director. He was a past president of Queen City Toastmaster. Please help me welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Mr. David Jones.
Dr. Jones. No, just kidding. Dr. Jones soon, but thank you, everybody. So I'm the Toastmaster today. For the guests, that means that I help facilitate or run the meeting, sort of like the, what do they call it, the circus barker or whatever he is. And theme was originally to get things going on time because last week's meeting went really long. So I wanted to keep it on time this week because we had 3 speakers, but now we're down to 2. So we'll be good on time. But I want to talk about my journey with Toastmasters. When I first came here, it was to overcome my fear of just standing up and introducing myself. I'd go to meetup groups and I couldn't even, raise my hand and say, I'm David. And my goal for Toastmasters was to be able to just stand up and speak in front of people. And I can do that. I'm not a great speaker, might not even be average, but I'm the person who'll get up and do it. And that was my goal. So I've accomplished it. Being Toastmaster is the biggest role in a club. And I signed up for it a few hours ago. And it's something that eventually everybody could just get up and do. You can get up and do any single role. And that's kind of what I like about my journey with Toastmaster. And tonight I have a few people that are going to be helping me along the way. And I'm going to start with our grammarian who will give us a word of the day. And that is Toastmaster Stuart. Stuart, you want to? I'll tape that up for you while you give your spiel.
Thank you, David. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, my name is Stuart Bryson and I will be the grammarian for this evening. My role as grammarian will be to listen closely to all speakers and know on any improper use of the English language, but also point out excellent use of word choice or phrases. I will also be introducing the word of the day, which is brevity, which, thank you, David. Brevity is the soul of wit, and to use as an example in a sentence, the grammarian should describe their role with brevity in order for the meeting to run on time. I will report on usage of the word of the day when asked at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And Toastmasters will help you have great brevity in all of your speeches and presentations. That's the reason to join and participate. That's the other thing. Can't just join. You have to come every single week, week after week, in order to make it work, because that's the only way to overcome your fear, is to speak each and every week. And we have a guest timer. He is president of Ballantine Toastmasters, and he comes whenever he can, and he has an honorary badge. And do you want to come up and tell us about your role as timer? Oh, Alan. I should probably say his name. That's right. Thank you.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. David was nice enough to volunteer me to be the timer tonight, and I will make sure that everyone stays within their allotted times for their speeches. Are the prepared speeches both 5 to 7 minutes? All right. So right there on that table, we have a state-of-the-art timing apparatus. After 5 minutes, the light will turn green. It'll turn yellow at 6 minutes and red at 7. Table topics are 1 to 2 minutes. So the light will turn green at 1 minute, yellow at 1.5 minutes, and red at 2 minutes. The evaluation speeches will be 2 to 3 minutes, which the green light will come on at 2 minutes. It'll turn yellow at 2.5 minutes, and it'll turn red at 3 minutes, and it'll remain on until you're finished. And I will give a timer's report after the end of every segment. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Don't trip over the wires. We have plenty of wires. Let's see. So we might as well jump into our speeches. Our first speaker is Jenny, and Jenny is actually, and that's the good thing about coming to Toastmasters is some of you might know we have, I had Dr. Eric on my mind. His daughter got married last month, and he would come week after week and practice his father, the bride speech. And that was an important part of it. It was also part of his pathways, but it was just, I believe we should come here and practice things that are important to us, something like that, or a eulogy. And Jenny has a presentation at work coming up, so she's going to practice it here with us. So I'm going to go ahead and encourage everybody to welcome Toastmaster Jenny. You got the clicker?
Oh, no.
I will get you the clicker.
Okay. Thank you, David. I'll wait for the clicker before you start the time. Do you leave it in that mode or like the full screen? Or-
full screen, we can't
Okay,
see, and then
okay.
windows here, so.
Okay. Great. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honorable guests. My name is Jenny Ferries, and I'm going to be giving a talk today on why the world needs more impact brands. You'll notice a couple photos there, if you can see. One of them is of Hurricane Ian, as you know, just passed through Charlotte this past weekend, and luckily we didn't bear a lot of damages. But in the west coast of Florida, there are over 100 people, I think, have that's where the death toll is, and about $50 billion in damages they're experiencing. On the left, you'll see it says gender equality won't reach, we won't reach gender equality for probably about another 100 years. And I just got off the phone with a colleague of mine that is from Pakistan. She lives in Toronto, and they have suffered the worst floods in history. Over 1,600 people are dead. 30 million people have been displaced from their homes. That's 1 in 6 people in Pakistan. And why does this happen? Obviously, climate change is a big part of that. And really, it's just the world is not moving fast enough to solve for our problems. So what is the opportunity that we have here? It's really big business, right? It's manufacturing, it's agriculture, it's the oil and gas industries. We have produced more stuff in the last 50 years as humans than in over centuries. And so it's becoming a big problem, and the world is now starting to play catch up and really kind of detangle all of the things that we've done as a society. So with that, enter the concept of impact brands. And what does that mean? I have a brand consulting company. I work with a lot of startups that are in impact brands and also technology that are trying to solve for a lot of these issues. And it's really the idea of conscious capitalism, right? And it's a new category of brands that are balancing profits and performance with what the world actually needs. So it's a really important business model of the moment, I like to say. And as a transition, without just giving you more alarming facts about the shit show that is happening in our world, I'm going to walk you through a case study of a company, a brand that is an impact brand that has really, identified a huge challenge in our society and created a product to innovate around that. And with that, I'll go to the next slide. So Tushy, for those of you that don't know who this brand is, meet Tushy. And I'll walk you through a quick masterclass on why they are doing human-centric branding, which is what I call it at the agency. So for those of you that don't know, Tushy are world leaders in saving your butt, literally and figuratively. And it is essentially a bidet attachment that goes on your toilet. And so how are they doing it? They really have figured out what the French have been doing for 300 years. And just give me a quick pause on that. So they're implementing human-centric branding principles to be able to solve for these major systemic challenges that we're facing. One of the things, so how did they do it? One of the things that they're doing, messaging that cuts to the chase. So even in their opening stats, it's the modern bidet that saves your ass and saves the planet and saves the world all at the same time. So they're really talking to their customers as humans and as people. We're all consumers. We all buy from different brands and businesses, and that's what we all aspire to. We don't like being sold to. And the modern day consumer is kind of tired of just marketing BS, right? And corporate fakery, as we like to say. So that's kind of one of the ways that they're instilling that in their brand strategy. Another way that they're doing it is in stats that make you think. So it takes 437 billion gallons of water, 253 tons of bleach, and 15 million trees to make toilet paper every single year. That is astonishing. And so they've created this innovation and this product to really help solve for that, right? It's more modern, sustainable brand. They're using credibility that cracks you up. If you have a company or you buy from companies, you always want to kind of hear, Testimonials, customer reviews. This is one from a real pooping human, and he says it's astonishing. And the bigger thing that really is impact driven as well is that they're also socially conscious. They're not just thinking about their bottom line, they're thinking about the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit, right? And so they've got a social awareness that makes you want to give them your money, honey, as we like to say. And what they're doing by that, they're giving, they're creating, giving back to communities that are underserved and need clean toilets. So what can we all learn from Tushy as an impact brand? It really, as I said before, it is the business model of the moment. And, when I say of the moment, it's not a trend. It's not like, oh, that's cool, it's sustainable, I want to get in on that fad. It's really this interesting time in our society where technology, opportunity, and understanding are really converging and making a major leap in human history. And so I encourage you to support brands that are doing good things. Patagonia just, I don't know if you've seen what they've done recently, but Earth is their #1 shareholder, and they've basically came out with that as their major statement. And it's an important step forward that big business can take to really save the planet and save all of us. And as a side note, do not go to tushy.com because it's not the same website. Yeah, and that's it.
Thank you. Even got a few laughs out of Alan, so that was a good thing. All right. And next up is going to be Leon. Leon, want to come up and give your speech? I'm not sure what it's about, but it's going to be awesome. Welcome, Stephanie. Mhm.
I'll give them a second to sit down. Or not. All right. Good evening to my fellow Toastmasters and honorable guests. Have you ever been faced with a decision or an odd situation where you didn't quite know how to act logically, but you had a feeling of maybe what you should do and you just did it? Or maybe you were thinking about a friend and how you should call them, and then a few moments later, they end up calling you? Some would say that these are just random coincidences, and others would say that there's something deeper from an inner knowing. Today, I would like to inform you on how deepening your intuition can help you to live a more engaging life by explaining first what is intuition, and then exactly how it can help you to live a more engaging life. And then lastly, what are some ways that you can strengthen your own intuition? Now, when it comes to defining intuition, it can be difficult at times to even let alone quantify it. And this is why many times in the Western world, they don't value the intuitive mind the way that they value the intellectual mind. And this leaves little room to allow to use both of these forms of intelligence so that we can make sounder, sustainable decisions. There's a quote by Albert Einstein that says, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant, but has forgotten the gift." And I want you to think about that for a second. When it comes to defining this gift of intuition, the most clearest textbook definition that we have is to know something immediately without any reasonable rationalization. But if I must interject my own intuitive definition, and I want you to write this down if you can, that intuition comes from an inner knowing that allows us and guides us to let the soft and gentle animal in us to love what it's meant to love. And I believe the best example of that is what's brought us all here today. The fact that we all intuitively knew that deep down we have our own dreams, hopes, and ambitions, but we also intuitively knew that we would have to perfect our public speaking skills so that we could better articulate our dreams in the world. Another thing that I would share with you when it comes to defining intuition, which I think is important, and that is differentiating the difference between instinct and gut feeling, something you also hear when it comes to describing intuition. See, instinct is inherent. It's an inherent behavior that's coded in our DNA. For example, whenever you may feel hungry or thirsty, you'll naturally seek out food and water. Whereas a gut feeling is more of a reactionary response whenever we feel stressed, and it triggers our fight or flight instinct. Where in comparison, intuition comes from a much calmer and peaceful place. And I believe that when we are calm and come from a peaceful place, we tend to make decisions that are more engaging in our life, which brings me to my second point. How can deepening your intuition can assist you in living a more engaging life? See, the key to becoming more in tune with your intuition is to getting to know more about your spirit. See, I believe as humans, it's our spirit that allows us to engage deeply with the world around us. The best example I can give of this is, how many of you have ever seen the movie Avatar? I think they recently came out with the second one. It's a sci-fi movie about these blue people who essentially live in the jungle, and all of them have ponytails. And at the end of this ponytail, it has sort of something that looks like some fiber optic wire. And they can take this wire and attach it to other living things, such as trees, animals, and even other Avatar people, so that they can have a deeper, engaging experience with them that brings about a kind of spiritual oneness. See, I believe that this is a great example, a cinematic example on what the spirit can do for us as humans. And I believe that you feel the same sort of engagement whenever you pour your time, attention, and love into a pet, an animal, a child, to watch it or them grow. You also may feel this whenever you witness a full moon or a sunset, or this engagement may come about while ingesting art such as music that make you want to dance and move, or even feel a sense of emotions. You also feel this same form of engagement whenever contemplating the beauties of oceans, mountains, or simply looking into the eyes of a loved one and know that they love you back unconditionally. See, by getting to know the deepest parts of your spirit and its wisdom, it broadens a sense of yourself. And through this broadening of yourself, it allows your intuition to be more in line with your highest values and beliefs. See, as a kid, one Christmas, my parents bought me a leapfrog globe. And on this globe, you can click on any country to learn about it. And as a kid, this created a spiritual longing for me to want to explore beyond the block that I grew up on. And as I got older and I looked up at the stars, this feeling was further validated. And through this spiritual longing, over a series of intuitional decisions as I got older, it led me to studying abroad and backpacking across 17 different countries, where I had engaging experiences with people and other environments that in return helped me to strengthen my own intuition. And this brings me to my third point. When it comes to strengthening your intuition, some things that you can do is, for one, I would undoubtedly have to say is to travel. Whether if it is to go to a city or town near you, or to go halfway across the world on some sort of eat, love, and pray journey. And what this does for you is it takes you out of the norm of your environment and puts you in an environment that you really don't quite know much about, which forces you to rely more on your intuition. Also, you're no longer under the watchful eye of people who know you. So you can finally do the things that your heart desires, to give that soft and gentle animal in you the opportunity to love what it's meant to love. Another way that you can strengthen your intuition is to do something that I call getting into the zone of now. And this is any activity that allows you to stop the logical mind so that you can be more in the present moment and get it more in tune with your intuition and creativity. This can be gardening, going on a meditative walk, exercising, playing a musical instrument, or simply laying down and looking up at the sky above you. Now, as I conclude, deepening your intuition can give you the benefit of living a more engaging life, or simply to make decisions that's more in tune with your spirit such as maybe if you're a guest today, joining Queen City Toastmasters. But the way that you do this is to first understand that intuition is an inner knowing that guides you to allow the soft and gentle animal in you to love what it's meant to love. Second, understanding that by getting to know more about your spirit can broaden your sense of yourself so that your intuition can be more in line with your values and beliefs, which allows you to make more engaging decisions in your life. And then lastly, to strengthen your intuition is to travel and get out of your comfort zone, as well as to get into the zone of now. So whenever you find yourself faced with a decision or odd circumstance where you maybe don't know quite logically how to act, but you have a feeling, I want you to remember the words of Albert Einstein, that the intuitive mind is a faithful servant and the rational mind, that the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant, but has forgotten the gift. And I want you to know that you have a gift ready to aid you into pursuit of whatever worthy ideal you choose to follow in your lifetime. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the brevity of life is shorter than we think. Therefore, we have to keep track of time. I'm going to ask for a timer's report on our two speakers.
All right, well, we just heard two outstanding speeches. Jenny, your speech was 6 minutes and 6 seconds, and Leon, your speech was 9 minutes and 2 seconds. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. And next up is going to be our table topics with Toastmaster Cameron. And Cameron, I believe we got a time for about 5 of them. So about 5 of them.
Okay, well, that's great because I prepared 5 of them.
There you go.
ahead of
Thank you,
time.
sir.
Thank you, Toastmaster David. Hello. Hello, everyone. I am Toastmaster Cameron, and welcome to our fellow members and guests. So David said the theme for tonight was going to be watch the clock. So this afternoon, I developed 5 timed-based questions. So how it works is this is impromptu speaking. I'm going to ask for volunteers. We'll probably start with a couple members first, and then our guests are welcome to come up. And it's really just to work on your off-the-cuff speech. I like the way somebody put it once. It's imagine you work for, say, Bank of America, and you get in the elevator one day, and the CEO of Bank of America gets in there, and he goes, "Oh, I see you work for Bank of America too. You know, what is it that you do for us?" And you have until the top of that elevator to explain to him what you do for him that provides value to his company. So that's the way I like to explain to me in the professional world. But anyways, to work on our impromptu speaking. So with that, do we have any volunteers in person or online?
I'll volunteer.
Okay, we have one online.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good.
Carla. All right, Carla. Your question is, what is the importance of time management?
That's a great question. I think everybody I know struggles with time management. I'll tell you what I think the most important part about it is, I think the most important part about time management is getting the optimum output from whatever you do with your time. Whether you're taking swimming lessons, you make sure that you fit that into your days. Whether you're working and have a product that you have to get out in 6 months, the only way to really maximize your time and get the most value out of it is to organize your time. Without that, days go by. I think about during COVID when initially I was trapped in an apartment more or less, and I couldn't do all the things I normally do. And I felt like I wasn't progressing or accomplishing anything. Then I thought, well, I'm going to take an hour every day. I'm going to do meditative, gentle things. I'm going to use that time. Then I started finding things to fill my day that weren't the normal things because I wasn't doing normal things. And as I was doing that, I had a better feeling about myself, and I felt like I was using my time more productively. And I do program in a lot of free time, but overall, I just get a sense that I am definitely accomplishing things when I use time management, and that was in my work career and in my personal career. But thank you for that question.
Thank you for your answer. That was a deep answer to a deep question. I like it. All right. Do we have any other volunteers? All right, come on up. All right. All right. Your question is, well, you can't look at my answers here. Let's see. Time change will be occurring for daylight savings time in the next few weeks. Which do you like better? Time moving up an hour, time moving back an hour, or no daylight savings time at all, and why?
Thank you for that question. I think we should banish time change because I feel like this is what separates us from the rest of the world. I feel like everybody should wake up at the same time and everybody should go back to sleep at the same time, and that we shouldn't keep on adjusting. I think it leads to so many problems at the airport, at the train station, and I just think it is kind of US centric as opposed to more of a global phenomenon. Thank you.
Personally, I like, extra hour of sleep that we're going to get in a few weeks, but that's just me. All right. Any other volunteers? I got time for 3 more. So, and the rule is if you don't volunteer, I just start calling on people. So, okay. I'm going to pick on my buddy Jamie over there. All right, Toastmaster Jamie. Your question is, what are you spending time on today that you need to spend less time on, and why?
Thank you for the question, Toastmaster Cameron. I am spending time on work, but things at work that don't add value at work. I am spending time chasing down questions that probably could be answered 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now. And it's a flaw in my personality. I hate ending the day without responding to every email that came into the inbox. But we've had actually some speakers recently that came in and talked about how to maximize your productivity. And one of the things they talked about is you got to have these big buckets of things that have to get done, and then you got to push everything else into these smaller buckets of things that would be nice to get done, but aren't really essential and don't really deliver value to the organization, don't improve your career prospects or improve your development and your skill sets. And so that's one of the things I'm trying to get better at, is having a better lens and filter on what are those non-essential activities, being comfortable telling people no, and that I'll get to it eventually, or just that this isn't something that's at the top of our priority list or isn't really going to drive value for the organization. So that's what I would stop doing more of.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jamie. All right, now I'm going to pick on our 4-time guest, Garrett. All right, your question, Garrett, is if you could travel in time to any year, future or past, which year would it be and why?
Thank you for the question, Cam. That is a very interesting one. Honestly, I don't think I'd travel to the past. I do like reading history. I like knowing what happened in our history, but I feel like if I had the opportunity to go into the future to see what actually played out, I think that would be one of the coolest experiences ever. I think if I could travel 20 years into the future, I think we'd know, a lot about the current events that are happening today, how they ended up. It'd be interesting to see where I was at 20 years into the future. Did I achieve my dreams? Did I reach my goals that I was setting for myself? Hopefully I did within 20 years. But I think that would be really cool to go into the future and to experience that. So And I'm waiting for that green light. Bam. Okay.
Do we have time for one more? Or no? One more? All right. Then my person shared my table, Ms. Kisha. I'm gonna need you up here for this one. You thought I wasn't gonna notice, you did. All right. Well, the question for Jamie was, what are you spending time on today that you need to spend less time on and why? So your question is the opposite of that. What are you spending time on today that you want or need to spend more time on and why?
I need to spend more time on. Good question. Let me think about that. Okay. Oh, that's a good one. Something to think about. I think I do pretty good as far as for balancing time. So let me think about that then. Oh gosh. I can honestly say I don't feel like I have anything that I necessarily need to spend a little bit more time on. I feel like for the most part, time management is probably one of my biggest strengths. I get things done, check things off. So I'm not gonna say that there's anything that I need to spend more time on. I'm gonna probably have to say that my question probably needs to be less time on, I guess, instead of more time on. But just to answer that, that's how I feel about it. All right. Thank you.
Well, I'll answer both questions. I need to spend less time in the Krispy Kreme and more time in the gym. So anyway, with that, Mr. Allen, will you give us a timers report, please?
All right, everyone stayed within the allotted time for their table topics with what we usually give as a 30-second buffer at the beginning. Carla's speech was 1 minute and 30 seconds. Sapana, yours was 33 seconds. Jamie, your speech was 1 minute and 16 seconds. Garrett, your speech was 1 minute and 3 seconds. And Keisha, you were 55 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And with that, I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Dr. Jones, or Mr. Jones, as the 1993 Counting Crows song was.
Thank you. Thank you, Cameron. Now, this exact moment in time is the one I always regretted when I first started, because the tabletop is over and you'd be like, oh, I wish I would have raised my hand and done it. So does anybody feel that way, that they wish they would have raised their hands? And no, because I was going to call on you if you raised your hand, but I had one ready to go. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to our general evaluator, President, not Doctor, President Elvis, and he's going to be our general evaluator tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. As in every learning and growing process, there's a feedback loop. And in Toastmasters, we provide that opportunity for members to provide honest, productive, constructive feedback. And this session is dedicated to that. I have the honor to be the general evaluator, and my role will allow me to introduce the evaluators who are going to evaluate the speeches, the prepared speeches for today. I will also call upon our grammarian, who is also going to give us a report at the end of how we did with the use of our language, our filler words. And also, I will be providing at the end an evaluation of the meeting as a whole. So to start off with the evaluation session, I would like to introduce our first evaluator, who is going to be evaluating our first speaker, Jenny. He is Toastmaster Jamie Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Jenny, congratulations. No, I actually love your speeches, Jenny. I always learn something when you're up here. This one was a little different, right? A lot of times you're speaking from experience, right? And stories. And it was fun to get to see you more in your career mode in terms of things that you're passionate about. So as I usually do, I'm going to structure my feedback on three things: content, structure, and delivery. And I'll hit some things that I thought were particularly effective, as well as some opportunities as you go forward, because I think this is a presentation that you were going to want to give again and again. So happy to share that feedback. The title, a masterclass on impact brands. I wasn't actually sure what an impact brand was. So it was fun. It took me in a different direction than perhaps I originally came into the speech thinking. I thought it was going to be more like brands that are particularly effective at resonating with their audience or knowing their audience and leaving a mark or leaving a legacy. And instead, it's more about the social conscious aspect of it, which was fascinating. So in terms of content, I thought you used a funny test case, which is always a great way to pull your audience in and make things relevant. This content in general, I think, is pretty approachable because we're all consumers. We all can think about how we connect with brands and what are the things that we find effective or not effective. So I think it's a really great story or theme to pull in as part of your connectivity with your clients, right? Or as part of whether it's conferences or other things that you might participate in. The visuals throughout I thought were great. So good examples to bring things to life. So again, I would definitely encourage leveraging that as part of the presentation going forward. But I don't know that you have to rely just on that because I think it is a pretty powerful message in and of itself in terms of the theme of social conscious branding. One thing on the content side that you might want to think about are some points of contrast in terms of traditional branding between this new approach, right? Of trying to really resonate with consumers along those kinds of dimensions of corporate responsibility. So if there's some ways that you could say 20 years ago, this is how a brand would have approached this, or this is what the key messages or the key points that people would have focused on, that might bring it to life in terms of how big a difference maybe and stark a contrast this really is. Structure. At the beginning, a call to action. I think that's always an effective device to get people to really pay attention. Obviously, climate change is one of those things that I'm sure a lot of these companies are focused on. And so I thought, if you can use relevant examples from in the news, by all means, that's going to get people's attention. The one thing I would say in terms just directly contradicting that, though, is you went right into a little bit of kind of backtracking on it. It's like, well, I don't want to give you any more terrible examples of the shit show and et cetera. So just don't contradict yourself right immediately after kind of really bringing us in and driving home the urgency perhaps of why this is now something that brands are focused on. I thought you did a great job of explaining, specific, certain topics with, I thought, really effective language. So things like conscious capitalism. What I would just suggest here is let's come up with or use a slide maybe at the beginning. What are the three things, right, that you really want to hit home about how social conscious branding companies are approaching this? And then use that as you go through to really reinforce those messages. Lastly, in terms of delivery, great volume. You were earnest throughout, right? So as you could tell it was something you were passionate about. Great eye contact. You smiled throughout. The jokes helped with that. Good hand gestures, maybe a little bit more pauses throughout, especially again on those key themes that you really want to highlight or resonate on. And then as usual, use the space a little bit more. And as you're making those inflections, right, that's a good way to use the space, is right when you're about to contrast a particular point, then you can engage one part of the room or the other part of the room. Overall, fantastic job. I love this content. I want to hear more of it. So keep coming with these kinds of these little educational briefs around brand. Great job.
Thank you, Jamie. Excellent evaluation. And next up is our next evaluator. It's going to be Vanessa Waller. She is going to evaluate our second speaker, Leon. Take it on, Vanessa.
Thank you, Elvis. And thank you, Leon, for an excellent speech tonight. Right away, you gave off such a positive first impression as a speaker, because although you did have a little bit of a pause to kind of get your speech set up and sort of organize your stage area, you launched in with a really thoughtful introduction about this topic of intuition. And that topic is great because who hasn't wondered, what is intuition anyway? Why does it matter? It's a buzzword. We hear it a lot. And your speech really connected to, I think, everyone in the audience because we all have intuition. It's something we all have in common. And you presented it in a way that was accessible. You seemed confident. You seemed comfortable in front of the audience. And you really just started very strong and you continued strong throughout your speech. And I want to highlight a couple things that I really appreciated about your speech. One thing you did well tonight is you had a really clear structure. And one thing in Toastmasters that's usually recommended is keeping your speech to 3 main points or less, simply because a lot of times people don't retain information as well as we might think they do. And especially in the evening when we're sitting and we're maybe letting our mind wander a little bit too much, keeping your speech to 3 main points was very effective. And you even kept us focused by reminding us, now on to my second point, now on to my third point, and we were able to follow along with you very easily. Incidentally, your transitions were very smooth, and that's good evidence that you practiced, you really rehearsed. One of the things I notice when I'm speaking and I didn't practice enough is that my transitions feel very sloppy. And I'm sort of saying and ah, and the grammarian would be going crazy, just tallying up my filler words, and you did a great job with that. One other thing I love in everyone's speech whenever I hear this is imagery. You talked about the movie Avatar. That's a really clear image, and most of us have seen that. You also shared a little bit about your personal experience. You talked about a gift you received of this globe and how that inspired you to travel. And all those images, what they do is they make us focus a little bit more, but then you get the audience engaged because then our imaginations start working almost on your behalf. You don't have to use as many words because you're treating us to this image that we can then imagine and be more actively engaged. And in terms of things to improve on, one thing I noticed is your third paragraph, so to speak, your conclusion about how to become better with intuition. I think that could have been made even stronger if you made it into just a story. And the reason I say this is a lot of speeches, they give you a lot of information up front, but then they end with this really gut-wrenching story or this really dramatic story. And it's just a great way to leave a strong impression as you're concluding your speech. Just a suggestion for your next go round. But overall, really loved your speech, and I'm very excited to hear your next one. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Elvis.
All right, well, great job to both of our evaluators tonight. Jamie, your evaluation speech was 4 minutes and 7 seconds. And Vanessa, yours was 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I would like to go on and proceed with giving an evaluation of the meeting as a whole before I call the grammarian report. And the reason I'm doing it that way is so that he can catch on my filler words as well. I would like to start by saying we started with a great theme today from our Toastmaster, keeping us on time, being on time, and we started the meeting on time, which is a good thing. The description of the roles from each one of the Toastmasters, starting with the grammarian, great job at taking the role with such a short notice and coming up with a word that was very appropriate for the theme that we are taking today. Very good explanation of the role, and overall, great job at making us understand what the role is about. Same thing with the timer, table topics. We had 5 participants, and taking the theme of the day, I don't know if it was a coincidence, but most of the speakers that participated in table topics today honor the word of the day, brevity. They were very brief, but good job, all of you. And thank you for taking this step, moving forward and participating, because this is what this is all about. The evaluators, very thoughtful evaluations from both Jamie and Vanessa. Very good points, positive, and also very good suggestions for improvements, which is how we definitely grow. That's what we are all here for, looking at ways to do things differently. And we all got very good feedback, at least all the speakers today, very good feedback from our evaluators. Overall, I think we are on time, and we did a very good job at keeping the meeting on time today. So with that, I will call upon our grammarian for our grammarian report.
Thank you, Elvis. And at the conclusion of my report, I will pass the microphone back to the Toastmaster, assuming that you've given your thoughts on the evening, if that's all right. Okay, so overall, I would echo Elvis's thoughts. It was a great meeting, lots of great speeches and great responses. I'll just briefly go through each individual speaker's filler words and excellent uses of language. David, I think you were the only one so far to use the word of the day, and you were very clean, so well done there. Alan, completely clean, no filler words whatsoever. Jenny, you just had a few us, and I noticed that you spoke and delivered your content quite quickly, and you would occasionally drop an in the middle there where you didn't really need it. It seemed like you knew the content really well, and if you just had a blank space there, nobody would have ever noticed. So I think that's something you could easily drop. I thought you used a couple of great phrases as well. I noted corporate fakery and conscious capitalism. I thought were quite concise but powerful phrases. Leon, fantastic speech. I noted a couple of quotes that you dropped in there. I thought it was very interesting when you said that soft and gentle animal is brought to love what it is meant to love. I feel like that's something you've clearly given a lot of thought to, and I really feel like I could sit down with a cup of tea with you and talk about that for half an hour and really pick your brain over it. That was very interesting, so well done there. It was very clean speech as well, so well done. Cameron, great job on table topics, good questions, you were very clean there. Carla, good response, it was very clean also, I noted no filler words. Sapana, just noted a couple of us, but great job, well done. Jamie, I think I noted only one in your table topics response, but it was a very good response. I also noted that you used the phrase developing a better lens, which I thought was quite useful. Garrett, I think I noted just one so well done there. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Kesha. I thought you did well. It's always really difficult being called out for table topics. The only thing I would say is just get your volume up because it was difficult to hear you from the table back there, but otherwise, well done. Elvis, a great job as general evaluator. You were very clean. Vanessa, really good review. The only thing that I noticed was a couple of the observations that you made at the beginning of your evaluation. You strung together a couple of sentences with "and" where I don't think it was really needed, but it wasn't really noticeable and otherwise was very clean. So I think that concludes everyone who spoke this evening. I'll now pass it back to our Toastmaster, David Jones.
I just want to give Jenny a little bit more feedback too, since it's for work because Alan and I were sitting there giggling like little teenage boys at some of your puns. And one pun that you missed, I think you missed the pun at the very end. You said something about the bottom line. We both laughed, but I don't think if you meant it to be a pun, but we thought it was cute and funny. Now, earlier I mentioned the best way to be a Toastmaster is to come every single week, week after week, just to practice. I won't be here next week, and it's going to be my first meeting I've missed in about 2.5 years. So that's going to be, yeah. So. Yeah. But with that, especially, some of the members come a little bit early, help Elvis set up, and then also sign up for the roles in advance. So we have everything running because Elvis is going to be doing all the audio visual, setting everything up. So I'd appreciate your help with that. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Elvis to close out the meeting. Thanks, sir.
Please help me with another round of applause to our Toastmaster. Thank you, David. And at this point, I would like to recognize our newest member, Sapana. Sapana, come over here. Thank you for joining. Welcome to Queen City Toastmasters. And I would like to go back to our members to hear one more time, please tell us your impression about the meeting as a whole. And I would like to start with the ones that are on Zoom. Priyanka, please, can you unmute yourself?
Well, this was my first meeting, as I said before, but I learned a lot of things and I found real life examples and what you guys were saying that connects to what I was learning in my textbook. So I thought it was very educational and enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And one more time to Keisha.
I thought it was a great meeting, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
Yes. Like they said, absolutely great meeting today. All the speakers did a fantastic job. Jenny, I think you're going to kill it in your speech for your job. You did an amazing job. Leon, as always, every time you get up and speak, there's multiple things that I can take away from it to try and improve myself. So the table topics were great, Cameron. Great job. And it was a great meeting. Thanks, everyone.
let me pass it on to our
guest. Okay.
guest.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, my name is Diana. This is first time visiting, and I have lived in Charlotte about 9 years. And about the speeches, I'm sorry I missed yours. I know you were first, and I've heard great things that you're preparing for your work. So that's good to know that we can kind of use this space for that. And the intuition speech was helped me understand intuition a little better, which is always interesting to learn more about, which you don't actually hear too much about. So thought that was great. And I think that I would like to come more to practice my speaking in public and larger group settings, and just in general for conversation speaking or anything of the sort.
The last time.
For the last time. Hi, everyone was great. I really enjoy your speech. Good job. Leon was great. And thank you everyone for having me today here.
Okay, I would like to call for our officers if there's anything to report. No, with that, then I will like to thank you again for coming over to our meeting. I hope you have enjoyed it, and we will be meeting again next week. I hope you all have a good rest of the week and have a good night. Thank you all for coming.